Joining us this morning, you're watching our mid-morning edition of Arirang News on this Thursday, March 12th, coming to you live from Seoul. I'm Shin Se-min. But before we get started, these are the stories we're following at this hour. Officially a pandemic, the World Health Organization finally uses the word to describe the coronavirus outbreak as more than 120,000 cases are confirmed in some 120 countries. The WHO's announcement sends shockwaves through global markets. The Dow Jones slips into a bear market and shares in Asia opened the day sharply lower. South Korea's benchmark Kospi was down over 1% at its open. Plus, the U.S. State Department calls out North Korea's significant human rights abuses. Following the UN condemnation of the regime's abuses, the report says the North has made no meaningful attempt to stop them. We start this morning with the coronavirus outbreak gripping the entire world. As the virus continues to spread rapidly from country to country, the World Health Organization has finally declared COVID-19 a pandemic. The coronavirus has spread at a wicked rate from an outbreak in the Chinese city of Wuhan to around 120 countries and infecting over 120,000 people. Our Kim Hyo-sun tells us more.
The WHO crumbled to intense pressure on Wednesday after resisting for weeks, finally declaring the COVID-19 outbreak a pandemic, as the virus has now spread to every continent except for Antarctica.
WHO has been assessing this outbreak around the clock, and we're deeply concerned both by the alarming levels of spread and severity and by the alarming levels of inaction. We have therefore made the assessment that COVID-19 can be characterized as a pandemic.
However, Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, the head of the WHO, stressed that the course of the pandemic could be changed if countries detect, test, treat, isolate, trace, and mobilize their people in response. He also explained that several countries have demonstrated that the outbreak can be suppressed and controlled. While he described the situation as a pandemic, Tedros stressed this does not change the agency's response, nor does it affect what countries should do to combat the virus. He also thanked measures taken by the governments of South Korea, Italy, and Iran in combating the virus, adding that, as seen in China's case, the COVID-19 outbreak is having an enormous social and economic impact. According to the WHO, a pandemic is defined as the worldwide spread of a new disease. Infections outside China, where COVID-19 originated, have now been reported in nearly 120 countries, infecting over 121,000 people around the world. Kim Hyo-sun, Arirang News.
Reacting to the WHO's designation of COVID-19 as a pandemic, Wall Street on Wednesday took a big hit. The Dow Jones Industrial Average plunged, entering bear market territory for the first time since the 2008 global financial crisis. Now, this as the pandemic announcement and as investors await a fiscal stimulus plan from the Trump administration, likely to be announced in minutes' time. The Dow Jones plunged over 1,400 points to close the day at 23,553, now more than 20% lower than its record close on February 12th. The S&P 500 and the Nasdaq fared little better, both shedding close to 5% each. Here in South Korea, markets sagged again at the open at Thursday's session. Both the benchmark Kospi and the tech-heavy Kosdaq opened lower 1% lower, with the Kospi dropping below the 1890 mark. As of 9:40 a.m., just 40 minutes into trading, the Kospi was down over 1.5% at around 1879, and the Kosdaq nearly 1.8% lower at 584. The coronavirus is also spreading across the United States, with over 1,200 confirmed cases reported in the country as of Wednesday local time. Reports say there have been at least 37 fatalities, including 24 in Washington state and 3 in California. In light of the outbreak, U.S. health authorities have advised the NBA to play games without fans present. The NBA is also mulling over moving games to cities where virus has not yet spread. And in one of the largest sporting events of the year, the NCAA will also proceed its games without the fans. An adjustment in the baseball world too. The Seattle Mariners and the MLB are reportedly looking into moving the Mariners' season-opening home series versus the Texas Rangers from Seattle as the Washington state governor imposed restrictions on large gatherings. Coronavirus infections in Italy continue to surge with over 2,300 newly confirmed cases reported overnight, bringing the country's latest tally to 12,462. Over 1,400 infections were recorded in the northern region of Lombardy alone, which has been at the center of the nationwide contagion. Fatalities also jumped by nearly 200, with a total standing at 827. The country is seeing a fatality rate of 6.6%, almost double the figure announced by the WHO. Over in Spain, the number of confirmed cases has jumped nearly threefold in just 3 days, with over 2,100 infections and nearly 50 deaths reported as of Wednesday. Madrid is the focal point of contagion and home to over half a country's cases. Now, here in the nation, a coronavirus cluster connected to a call center in the southwest of capital Seoul is adding a worrying new twist to the outbreak here in South Korea after a brief period during which the number of cases had been trending down. Officials here say an alarming number of people tested positive among the call center's employees and their family members. Our Kim Mo-gyun tells us more.
Seoul has confirmed at least 99 coronavirus cases linked to a call center in Guro-gu district southwest of Seoul on Wednesday, the largest cluster transmission in the capital. This is up by at least 30 from yesterday when the cluster infection on the 11th floor of the building was first reported. Health authorities on Wednesday reported that South Korea has a total of 65 deaths and 7,755 infections, up 242 from the previous day. Though more than half of the new cases are still from Daegu, 50 plus were from Seoul, hit hard by the call center infections.
There are worries that these new cases could accelerate the spread because the call center is located near the Guro and Sindorim subway stations, which are considered as major transportation hubs.
Another reason why such concerns have been raised is because many of the call center employees who come from across the capital region took public transportation on their daily commute. Meanwhile, over in Daegu, the number of newly confirmed cases surged by 131, a day after authorities reported that new cases dropped below the 100 mark. A total of 5,794 people have tested positive in Daegu, the most of any part of the country by far. The majority of cases in the area came from a cluster infection from the Shincheonji religious group, but according to Daegu City Mayor Kwon Young-jin on Wednesday, 10 employees from 6 call centers in the city have been infected, raising concerns of more. The mayor says that the city is in the process of investigating the entire workforces of all 56 call centers enrolled with the Korea Contact Center Association, as well as other private call centers. He also requested the government to designate Daegu and Gyeongsangbuk-do province as special disaster areas and urged for national emergency assistance for the vulnerable and the self-employed. Kim Mo-gyun, Arirang News.
Now, when a coworker or a neighbor tests positive for the coronavirus, even those without symptoms have to be isolated as suspected patients. But now, Korean researchers have found a way to quickly test if these people are free from the virus. Our Park Se-young with the details.
A 19-story building in Seoul was shut down and hundreds of workers had to self-isolate on Monday after a cluster of confirmed COVID-19 cases were identified at a call center in the building. For cases like this, Korean researchers have developed a method to check for COVID-19 negative people among those without any symptoms. The team created a small gene that looks for the COVID-19 virus and tested for responses at 4 parts of the virus at the same time. If all 4 parts are unresponsive, the person is COVID-19 negative. If one part is responsive, then there is a chance the subject might have COVID-19 and will require further testing. This new method differs from the current method of analyzing 1 or 2 parts of the virus to determine positivity. The new testing method can be applied at medical institutions and thousands of laboratories at universities and companies across the country.
It's an easy procedure that can be done at any laboratory, university lab, research lab, public health center, or hospital in Korea.
Because the test takes about 4 hours and the cost is about 1/9 that of a test for positive diagnosis, the new testing method is expected to reduce anxiety and help suspected patients quickly return to their normal lives. Park Se-young, Arirang News.
And as we have reported, many of the call center workers who tested positive for the virus either use the subway or buses for their daily commute, raising concern about a broader spread through the public transit. And Seoul Metro is stepping up extensive disinfection in accordance with Korea CDC guidelines. Our Kan Hyung-woo reports.
Sindorim Station, one of the busiest subway stops in Seoul, is less than 1 kilometer away from the Korea building, where a cluster transmission of COVID-19 has resulted in at least 90 confirmed cases. Seoul Metro is putting all-out efforts into stopping the virus from spreading further.
The fact that the virus has come here is tough on me. It makes me anxious. So I'm grateful to Seoul Metro for this disinfection work. Because of that, I don't think people have to worry as much about getting infected.
Disinfection teams of 4 or 5 people are constantly in the subway stations with sprayers. Other teams of 7 or 8 people clean the ticket gates, toilets, and platforms 4 to 5 times a day. Their aim is to wipe down all surfaces that people can easily touch. And it's not just the stations Seoul Metro is cleaning. Now, as you can see here, the Seoul Metro workers disinfect each subway train at least once a day to ensure the safety and health of citizens in the capital. A team of 6 to 8 people spend about 20 to 30 minutes disinfecting each train.
On top of the 637 cleaning staff we had already, we hired 106 more for the disinfection work. With our preventive measures, I think people can ride the train safely.
Seoul Metro is advising people to refrain from holding on to the straps on the subway trains if possible. Another way to protect yourself is to sit or stand apart from other people when it's not crowded. Kan Hyung-woo, Arirang News.
And South Korea has seen the largest drop in consumer sentiment in the OECD amid the coronavirus outbreak. According to the OECD findings on Thursday, South Korea's consumer confidence index fell 0.4% to 99.6 in the month of February. Readings below 100 indicate pessimists outnumber optimists. Consumer sentiment has also contracted as COVID-19 has spread across the country since the end of January. Local theaters, restaurants, and the tourism sector have been hit particularly hard. South Korea's contraction in consumer confidence was bigger than any of the other 25 OECD members. Turkey also saw the second biggest drop, while Japan only saw a slight decrease. The data for China has yet been collected. In a new report, the United States has once again left out the word egregious to describe North Korea's human rights violations. The word was not included in the U.S. State Department's annual country reports on human rights practices for the second straight year. The 2017 version of the report said the North Korean people faced egregious human rights violations by the regime. In the latest report, the 29-page section on North Korea says the regime has not yet provided an explanation on the death of Otto Warmbier, the American college student who died shortly after his release from detention from the North.
Good morning. We had a chilly start to the day, but temperatures will rise fast. And temperature gaps between lows and highs will be very wide. In fact, Uiseong in Gyeongsang-Pukto province will see a gap of nearly 20 degrees Celsius today. So highs will get up to the mid to upper teens in most parts of the country, and mostly bright skies and good air quality will dominate the country throughout the day today. It's going to be fairly sunny during the day, but late at night, the central western regions will see light rain of less than 5 millimeters, while mountainous regions in Gangwon-do province could see some snowfall from dawn to early tomorrow morning. And there will be some ups and downs in the temperatures for the time being. Readings will remain below the season norms, and there is nationwide rain or snow in the forecast for next Tuesday. That's Korea for you, and here's the international weather for viewers around the world.
And that does it for us at this hour, but we'll be back with more of the latest news lineup, including the Trump administration's latest announcement on travel ban from Europe and much more in our later newscast coming up at noon Korea time. Thanks for watching and goodbye.